Hey, my friends, welcome back to Body Led by Design. We are in week 3 or 4, I've lost track at this point, of the weight loss series. I hope you're enjoying it. Today is one of the most passionate things that I love to talk about, not only in weight loss resistance, but also the mental and emotional part of weight loss resistance. Because the truth is, we're not just a physical being, we are a full spectrum, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical person. We can't just go in and declog the whatever resistance issue is happening on the physical level. We also have to change what's happening on the emotional and mental level so that we don't end up with the same situation over and over again. Because it's very rare that I have somebody that's just a physical client. Many times we're all three of these. So today we're going to speak in these two parts. The first is emotional weight loss resistance, and the second is going to be the mental weight loss resistance picture and what this really looks like. Okay, let's start with the emotional side. So here's what I want you to understand about emotions first. Emotions are not problems. Emotions are not weaknesses. There's nothing wrong that they happen. Emotions are communication from your body on what it actually needs. That's it. That's all they're here to do. Your body is just talking to you, and it talks to you through feelings. And when you don't listen, when you don't let yourself feel what you're feeling, your body has to have another way to get your attention. The feelings that I'm talking about are not dramatic ones all the time, but oftentimes they're going to be things like stress. It can also be things that we feel like we should be familiar with, but like anger or disappointment or sadness or frustration or maybe loneliness, the everyday emotional load that most of us carry. And most of us are not processing simply because it's inconvenient. And we also think something is wrong if we feel those feelings. And when those feelings come up, instead of feeling them, we do something else. We reach for something, we do something to make that feeling go away, or we numb it out. And that is what we call the emotional crutch. The most common ones that I see of emotional crutches would be, especially for the women listening to my podcast or being in my audience, would be the woman who's actually not eating. She's working, she's overworking, she might be yelling at her kids or her significant other, avoiding, distracting, having a drink, using medication to avoid feeling, scrolling, staying busy, always having something in the background. So there's never silence and there's not quiet, because the quiet means, what would I possibly do with myself when things calm down? I don't want to feel that feeling. And a lot of times when I'm talking about emotional weight loss resistance, we think emotional eating or overworking or staying busy. Yes, those are all ways of not feeling what we're actually feeling. And here's the thing about why they feel so hard to give up, like overworking, right? Because at some point in your life, whatever crutch you reached for gave you a positive outcome, and your brain learned that and it doesn't forget it. It wants you to keep going to that because of the positive outcome. So with overworking, at some point, you were the hardest worker in the room and you got a lot of praise. It maybe got you an A in school. You got a raise. You got noticed by your parents or your teachers, and your brain got that message very loud and clear. When I work really hard, I get love, I get value, I get solutions. So now when something feels hard or uncomfortable or scary, your brain sends you right back there because it knows that that works. But here's the problem. Whenever you reach for in place of an emotion, never actually gives your body what it needs. So the emotion just keeps coming back. The need keeps coming back, and you keep reaching for the crutch over and over again, wondering why nothing ever resolves. At some point, you simply cannot keep overworking. At some point, you can't keep skipping meals or eating the thing that makes you feel worse. You have to go to the real reason of what your body's asking for and actually give it that. So you can just give it that and then move on with your life. Now, here's where it directly connects to weight loss resistance. And I also want to be clear, because I think there's often a common assumption that emotional eating always means overeating. That's not always the case. Weight loss resistance isn't always about consuming too many calories. It's about whatever action puts your body into a state of not feeling safe. So if you have an abundance of unprocessed emotions or emotions that are being met in the way that the body doesn't actually need, your body's going to be going into a state of not feeling safe. And an unsafe body holds on to body fat. Let me give you some examples of what I mean by emotions being met in the wrong way. feeling tired and eating instead of resting, feeling sad, having a drink instead of crying, feeling overwhelmed and scrolling instead of sitting with it and understanding why you feel overwhelmed, feeling lonely, staying busy instead of reaching out to somebody and actually connecting. Your body's asking for one thing and you gave it something else entirely. And your nervous system sees this as a mismatch. It sees it as like a threat. I'm not actually getting what I need right here. And something is off and I'm not okay. We're not okay because I'm not getting my needs met. And when stress is high and emotions are running, so when I'm talking about the emotional weight loss resistance picture, I want you to see that is very closely linked with your quote unquote stress, because the emotional load also gets translated into your nervous system, which is your stress translator, right? It's your stress communicator. So when emotions are high, also your nervous system dysregulation is high. And when you're dysregulated, sometimes you just don't hear your hunger cues anymore. You do not even feel an appetite when you wake up in the morning. You work through meals because it doesn't even register that you need to eat, or it just doesn't feel important enough. And you're disconnected from your body's communication and food just falls off the radar. And sometimes when you do eat and it feels accessible and it feels like the easiest thing to digest is not the most nutritious thing. And there's a real physiological reason for that. Think about protein from animal sources and vegetables with fiber. Those foods take a lot of energy to break down. They require digestive enzymes, they require stomach acid, they require a gut that's functioning really well. And that's a lot of work for a body that's already stressed out and depleted. And then it thinks about the packet of Cheez-Its that are sitting in your console for your kids. And your body's like, I can break that down in about 2 seconds. The nutritional value is basically nothing, but energetically in that moment, it feels possible and it feels doable. This isn't because there's something wrong with you and you don't have discipline. It's because your body's doing what it can with what it has. But what it's doing, the not eating, the easy food, the skipped meals, is sending your body the same message as everything else that we have talked about, which there's not enough here. We're not safe. Hold on to everything. And all of this, the coping mechanisms, the unprocessed emotions, the restriction, the overworking, they all go to the same place. They all go to your nervous system. A chronically dysregulated nervous system always feels unsafe. It is always in a sympathetic drive. And that tells the rest of your body, hold on to your resources, don't let anything go. And your nervous system cannot differentiate between a life-threatening stressor and a stressful Tuesday that you're actually very safe within the container of. It can't tell the difference between a bear chasing you and the never-ending to-do list. It sends the same message. Stress is stress is stress is stress. That's it. There's no interpretation. There's no reading in between the lines for your nervous system. It can't tell the difference between a genuine food shortage and skipping lunch because you were busy. Stress is stress in the body. The signal is the same regardless of the source. And so your nervous system could be running in this dysregulated state because you are overworking, because you are not sleeping, because you are not eating enough, because you are carrying emotions that haven't been felt and processed in years or decades, because you have been telling your body for a long time that its needs are not the priority. And your body believes you. And so it responds accordingly. It holds on, it conserves, and it protects. Okay, so let's move into that second layer of the mind. And we have mental weight loss resistance as well. And this is for the woman who does not believe it's possible anymore. And I want to talk about how you get here because it doesn't happen overnight. And it's not that you have lost your drive. It's not that you have lost your grit. It's also, I hate it when people say you just don't want it enough. And I'm like, sorry, Bill on Instagram. That's not true. You don't know what it's like to live in a woman's body after the age of 40. You don't get an opinion here. So let's talk about why we start to lose belief. Many times you have a chronic dieting history. You have tried over and over and over again, right? This isn't your first rodeo. Somewhere along the way, after enough failed attempts, enough times of doing what you were told to do, eat less, move more, and nothing changed, you stopped believing. And it makes sense because everything you've been taught about how to lose weight hasn't been working for you. right? Every advice, every guru tells you to do these things. Try fasting, try keto, try a GLP-1, and then they don't work. So what does your brain conclude? If all the advice out there isn't working for me, there must be something wrong with me. And if there's something wrong with me, then this isn't possible for me. And at that point, your brain makes a very logical decision. It decides that belief itself is an energy waste. Why would I spend mental energy and emotional energy trying to believe in something that has never worked? That is not a safe investment. So the brain pulls back, it stops believing, and it starts redirecting your energy to places where you actually get a return. And what does this look like? Because this is really important. And if you've been distracted, if you're doing a few different things while listening to this podcast episode, I really want you to come back to me right now because this is so important. Because our mind and our bodies will always prove our belief, even when our beliefs suck, even when our beliefs are not serving us, even when we know better. Your actions will always line up with what you believe at the deepest level. So the woman who does not believe that she can lose weight, what does she do? She doesn't think about her food. She doesn't plan her meals. She doesn't look at the possibility of what eating well could do for her. She puts her energy somewhere else. She puts it somewhere where it feels possible, where she would get a win. And what this often looks like is the typical fawn response when we talk about nervous system dysregulation. You're familiar with fight or flight. There's also freeze, and then there's also fawn. Fawning is the overgiving, the taking care of everyone else, the people pleasing, appeasing your boss, being the first to volunteer for everything, because those things feel very achievable. Your brain knows that you get a positive outcome there. So it sends you there while quietly continuing to prove, see, I told you weight loss isn't possible for you. Look at your actions. Look at your evidence. You're not doing this on purpose. You're not like out there waking up in the morning, rubbing your hands together thinking, how can I mess this up for myself today? Your brain is just doing what brains do, protecting you from the pain of trying and failing again. So what do you do to actually get out of this? And I want to be really clear. It's not through toxic positivity. It's not through writing affirmations on sticky notes and putting them on the mirror, although I love a good affirmation and I love a good sticky note. Oftentimes, you've already tried that. What moves this is evidence, real, undeniable, already existing evidence. Because I want you to see nuances in what your mind is actually telling you. Your mind is telling you, no, it's not possible. And what I want you to start to see is that right now you are breathing. Right now, you are listening to this, you are digesting, you are making hormones, you are detoxing hormones, you are repairing cells, your heart is beating, you're circulating blood. All of that is happening without you doing a single thing. Your body is doing an extraordinary amount of work right now that you're not even aware of. And if your body can do all of that, then it is capable of change. It is capable of healing. It is capable of shifting its body composition. All you have to be is a human. There's not a single woman on this earth who truly cannot lose weight. Not one. And if we know that not one woman exists that she can't shift her weight, we know there is no one out there for whom this change is truly impossible. And then we have to consider if that is possible, then it's possible for you too. I love this idea for every person who has ever met an obstacle, that there is another person who has figured it out and ended up exactly where she wanted to be, right? For every single obstacle out there, another person has figured it out and ended up exactly where she wanted to be, which means it has been done, which means it is possible and it is possible for you. And with the word possibility, I like to take it up just a hair, just a notch, and to say, if you do it and you stick with it, it's actually inevitable. Inevitable. And what's the emotional charge that you have in your body with inevitability, right? We're not looking at our watch. We're not putting our body on a time clock. We're believing. We're in it. We're looking for evidence. So here's what I want you to do today. I want you to look at your actions so far today. Just today. Even if you're listening to this at 8 a.m. If I were watching you, or if somebody who knew nothing about you looked at what you did today around food, around movement, around taking care of yourself, what would they believe that you believe you can lose weight? Or would they find proof that you don't believe? And if they would find the proof, if your actions today are the actions of a woman who has given up, I want you to ask yourself one question. What would I do differently today to prove that I actually believe this is possible for me? You don't need to overturn your whole life. You don't need to have a perfect day. You just need to have one different action, one decision that looks like belief instead of defeat. Because belief is not something you feel first and then act on. Belief is something you build through actions. You act as if it is on its way because you know it is and you feel it is. And then it becomes real. And this is where it starts. And if you are ready for support in doing this, I'm going to encourage you to go to my website, melissaaguewellness.com/coaching, and sign up for a consultation. I'm going to talk to you all about your weight loss resistance, what is creating the resistance for you, and what to do next. And I'm also going to invite you into my upcoming cohort in August, focused solely on full nourishment. Nourishment of the body, nourishment of the mind, nourishment of the soul, nourishment of the nervous system, so that you can finally lose the unwanted weight, shift your body composition, and fully believe in the inevitability of feeling just like you want to feel. All right, my friends, next week is our final episode for the weight loss series. And next week, we're going to talk all about the results and the solutions. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, would you mind leaving me a review? And I will see you next week.